nothing to throw them off their game, they drastically change their behavior. All right? They go super deep. They massively change how they behave as a result of this tiny little thing. Right? Again, we're thinking about a weenie here. I probably should stop saying that. Ninny. We'll keep with ninny. All right? And then, and here's where it gets nasty, this is the third point of their mental ninniness, all right, is that once they've massively changed their behavior, they stay down for a long time. And this is what that would look like. It takes them a super long time to restabilize their behavior. Like that tiny little Wi-Fi being so, that tiny little comment that someone said, forever, it just keeps bothering them, keep replaying it in their head. They said this thing at this party and they think people laughed at them and they just keep replaying it, right? And not only that, when they finally stabilize, this is the fourth element, right? When they finally stabilize at this new lower baseline, they now are permanently worse as a result. So almost nothing threw them off. As soon as they do get thrown off, it's super deep in terms of their change in behavior. It takes them forever to recover. And then by the time they do recover, their recovery is worse than they were before. And you have met these people. I have met these people. This is the person who gets broken up with, gains 50 pounds, loses their job, and gets addicted to drugs. And, key point, never recovers. And so life occurs, and they simply get worse over and over and over again. Every time something happens, they spin out, they change their behavior, and then they're permanently worse. They're less likely to achieve the goals they have in their life, whatever those goals are. Life happens to them, not for them. And so, of course, people in the real world, like you and me, right, we sit somewhere between these two extremes, between maxed out stats and ninnyism. And so you might have someone, for example, with a long fuse, right, but when they snap, they really snap. So this is someone who has high mental tolerance, but low fortitude. And if they were to stay upset for weeks, then they would have low resiliency. But maybe they come back to baseline again. And that way, if they had come back to baseline, they have medium adaptability. So you've got someone with high tolerance, low fortitude. I don't remember if I said they come back quickly or not. And then medium adaptability, right? So as we're thinking about this, like think about how you'd relate yourself to each of these four, right? Now, let's give a different example. Let's say someone, gets upset really fast, right? It doesn't take a lot, so they have low tolerance. So imagine somebody who gets upset really quickly, but like barely changes their behavior. Okay, you know some of these people too. Like they're sensitive, but like they're back, right? They bounce back pretty quick, right? So they would have high fortitude and high resilience. So it doesn't change their behavior much, and they recover really quickly. Okay, doable, and they have normal adaptability. So you know these people, right? So it doesn't take much to set them off, but they only change behavior a little bit, and they recover really quickly, and then they go back to normal, right? Well, when you think about that, that's a different kind of mental toughness makeup than the first example. No, Richard, trauma is not more complex. People try to confuse each other and listen to other people who confuse them. Trauma is a permanent change of behavior from an aversive stimulus. Something bad happens in your life, and you permanently change the way you behave. Period. 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 I don't know what to tell you, bro. I really want to help, and that's why I'm saying this. People who believe that allow trauma to permanently change their behavior in a negative way, and they get worse from it. And God, I hope that no one has traumatic things in their life. I hope that nothing bad happens to you. But it is a fact of life that bad things will occur. And so the question is how you behave as a result. Real. I want to help. I really do. And this is why I'm making this stuff for you guys. All right. So, real world examples. Where was I? They barely changed their behavior. Okay, so this person, many things bother them. They barely change their behavior, but they get in a bad mood. They cry maybe, but then they recover. Now, let's do a different example. Maybe it's someone who has low tolerance. Remember, they snap really quickly. High fortitude, they don't change their behavior much. Low resilience, so it takes them a long time to recover. So think about somebody who's like, it doesn't take a lot. they change a little bit. So they're just like, I don't know, they're just a little bit in a funk. They don't lose their job. They don't lose their boyfriend. They're just like not as chipper, right? They're just kind of, maybe they're cold shouldering, or maybe they're just like aloof. They just don't, like, kind of glazed over. You guys know somebody like this, right? And then eventually, after this very long recovery process, they eventually get back to where they were before. So I'm trying to describe different types of behavior sets of what people do when bad things happen. So, get in a funk easily, stay there for a long time, but it doesn't ruin their lives, right? They just stay below baseline for months until they eventually